Hello. So today I'll be discussing the dynamics of free publication process, of which very important and essential among the researchers across the globe. It is because it is one way to utilize the outputs of those researchers after conducted their researches. It is also one way to share information to other people. And we believed that research is useless unless otherwise published and utilized by other people across the world. So, to begin with, let us tingle this. A vision to be effective should be coupled with risk, resilience, initiative, strategy, knowledge, and spirit. So, take note of this. We're talking about the research publication. So that is why one of our vision when we have started already the process of conducting research is for other people to know that you have conducted a research, for other people to know that you have something to offer as part of the problem solution or strategy to solve a particular problem. And it is not only you as researchers to be benefited, who will be benefited from the research that you have conducted. A lot of people across the world most probably they have encountered the same problem. And that exactly the importance of why we have to publish a particular research. Again, I would like to reiterate that a vision to be effective should be coupled with risk, resilience, initiative, strategy, knowledge, and spirit. 2021. Okay, so the objectives are the following: comprehend the principles of free publication, which is very essential because from the time that we have something in our at the back of our mind, we have to think of something of which we could possibly see your effort, your initiative, and your importance as researcher. Also, of course, in applying the results to a particular problem. So, evaluate criteria set by journal publication. This is also one among the most important thing that we have to consider, especially to those who are conducting research. Before you start a particular research, you have to think of what should be the theme, what should be the focus of a certain publication or a journal for publication. It is because we have to integrate. Most probably, it is a widely crafted idea to be able to spread across the world of what should be the focus, should be the answer to a certain problem, specifically when it comes to engineering, when it comes to business. What are the prevailing idea or prevailing activities or focus of the businesses of today? Specifically when it comes to the applications of artificial intelligence. It is a widely known, especially today, that artificial intelligence is very useful. But artificial intelligence was developed in the 1900s. But most of the people are not yet aware of what they are doing. A very simple communication through internet is an AI product. Also, of course, it is somewhat like innovating and more interactive in nature. So that is why they keep on researching on how to be mingling with this kind of idea. So critically analyze the essential elements of preparing self for publication. It is not only the content of what you will be publishing, but it is also a way to develop yourself, the trust, the faith, and the hope that you could possibly finish a certain task. So we should be starting from ourselves to be able to at least go on with the process smoothly. To again comprehend the principles of free publication process, evaluate the criteria set by journal publication, critically analyze the essential elements of preparing self for publication. So, I have prepared this kind of publication process. I called it the threefold of free publication. And what are the focus of this attention? Preparation process, evaluation process, and self preparations are three different things that we should know as researcher to be able to at least preparing ourselves, preparing the manuscript, and preparing where to publish the output. Let's talk about the preparation process. So the preparation process started from the scratch, getting the idea, looking for information, asking for help from other people, etc. So the preparation process is called reality. Yes, exactly. The real thing that we could possibly utilize, we could possibly prepare, we could possibly do. So reality means read an extensive literature on the chosen topic. At the back of your mind, a very good idea in engineering practice, the technology, the concept, the theory. So what does it mean? We should be looking for a support. So that is why reading a literature is quite essential to a researcher for us to be able to at least understand the concept at the back of your mind. And most probably, it is very helpful to be able to craft a new and innovative things once that you have seen that there is an existence of the focus or the topic of yours. Basically, it is also one way to be able to eliminate some sort of plagiarism, some sort of duplication, and some sort of duplicating the idea. It is also one way to be able to fill in the gaps or to find or to look for the gap between what is at the back of your mind, what is in your idea, and also, of course, of this the reality already, the things that most of the researchers have already written and published. It is also one way to be able to twist something called innovating something. The next one is evaluate your focus in line with the subject matter. Exactly. That is why we have to look for a literature to be able to dissect, to be able to identify, to be able to determine some variables needed to fill in. So it is a way to creating a web map or a web of ideas connecting one another or disconnecting one another, called dissecting from the view of deductive reasoning, from the very perspective, broader perspective to specific perspective. Or sometimes in other to other researchers, they are utilizing inductive way of webbing the ideas from the very specific to a very macro perspective. So attend conferences to verify what is behind the back of your mind. Exactly, this is one way to at least learn something about what you have had established. Also, of course, getting information from other people who are also expert in the field. And those people who have already written some information in relation to the topic that you have identified. The next one is locate possible publication with high impact factor to which you are intent to publish your work. And it is also one way to be able to scrutinize, evaluate, analyze, and also, of course, think of the appropriateness of the topic in line with the theme publication. And also, of course, intensively measure the pros and the cons of information at hand. So that is one way to be able to delineate other importance or other aspects of your research, to be able to identify the differences, the commonalities, the relationship of those information written already, and also of course of your own idea. Another one is technically verify the conformance of writing of what is required. That is also another thing to consider. That what should be the format, what should be the content. Like for example, the internationally accepted format is IMRAD form, and some other organization they are letting the free hand. They are uh, allowing the researchers to submit on their own craft, based on their own understanding, based on their own concept of presenting the data or information. But in most cases, we are observing and following the standard format called IMRAD. And to complete the reality, why yearn for more research endeavor, meaning you are supposed to identify more than one, two, three, four, five, and so on, to be able to verify if what you have conducted is already acceptable or not. So again, read extensive literature on the chosen topic, evaluate your focus in line with the subject matter, attend conferences to verify what is behind the back of your mind, locate possible publication with high impact factor, intensively measure the pros and the cons of the information at hand, technically verify the conformance of the writing of what is required, and yearn for more research in the vor. So the next one is planning the research. What to include? I have prepared this one, the key steps to observe the process. I called it side. Side means, sorry, the key observed is sprite. What do we mean by sprite? From the word side, the first letter is S, and that S represents the sprite. In 2021, sprite means start identifying the problem. And that is one of the basic principles of writing a research paper, or writing a research, or conducting a research. What to look for? So we should establish the problem. What is the problem at present? What is a problem on your hand, at your hand, in your hand? What most probably the problem of the people around you? What most probably the problem of the community? Or let's say, for example, in education. So there's a lot of problems. Actually, in all disciplines, there's a lot of problems. That is why we keep on conducting research. Includes surveying the literature relating to the problem. Define the actual problem for investigation in a clear specific term. And extract the idea to formulate hypothesis and define the basic concepts and variable. That's exactly what we meant by the side. And for the side, we should be stating the underlying assumptions which govern the interpretations of result. It is following now the concept of sprite into 2021 that I have been developing, that I have developed and still developing, to be able to be more adequate, to be more appropriate, and to be more essential in the process of conducting research. So the second one is paradigm the research design to maximize internal and external validity. Exactly. That is why we need to do a lot of searching for literature to be able to at least designing or crafting your own way of attaining your objective. And the paradigm means the simulacrum. It is the schematic diagram on how you will be deducing or extracting the idea and the data that you will be utilizing. So that is why it is very important for us to come up with a structure or a schematic diagram on how to maximize the internal and external validity. When we are talking of validity, it has something to do with acceptability of the informations that you have included in your paper. Like, for example, selection of the subjects, control and or manipulations of relevant variables. When we are talking of control, it is within our means, or sometimes we are delimiting some variables in order to at least comply with the time frame requirement. Also, of course, instrumentation selection, or you could possibly formulate your own instrument, the questionnaire, the interview guide, the observation process, guidelines, etc. Also, of course, part of the sprite is require the data collection procedures. It is one way to be able to at least logically arrive to a particular output. When we are talking of collection procedures, it is one way to establish a very logical sequence of getting or extracting information or data. Then identify the data analysis methodology. What should be the method that you will be utilizing? It could either be qualitative or quantitative. It depends on the need or it depends on the problems that you have identified or established. Take note of the methodology. It is basically the blueprint of the entire process of conducting research from the time that you have encountered a problem to the time that you will be publishing a research output. And tackle the execution of research, meaning you are supposed to execute. You have to act on what are the activities needed. Once that you have already identified the steps to be followed, you are supposed to execute, meaning you are to implement what you have planned already. And the last one, to complete the word sprite, evaluate the findings and draw conclusion. Exactly. Once that you have collated all the information, tested with the appropriate statistical tools or process of analyzing and evaluating through narrative process under the qualitative method. So the next one is considerations in designing a research. I called it decode. Decode means we have to extract, we have to interpret, we have to evaluate, we have to exactly decide on what should be the things that we need to do. So, meaning decode as extraction. Decode means you are going to search on something to be able to open, to be able to explain, to be able to find the meaning. And the code means define the problem area, elate the choose or to choose the methodology wisely, consider combining methodology called mixed or triangulation. We have outline instrumentation specifically. So what should be the instrument or the tool that we need to utilize to be able to extract the most appropriate data needed for the interpretations of results, deliberate appropriateness of the statistical tools, and also of course extract conclusions. So again, in designing a research, there are some considerations that we need to put into place, or we need to we need to understand, define the problem area, elate to choose the methodology wisely, consider combining methodology, outline instrumentation specifically, deliberate appropriateness of statistical tools, and extract conclusions. So, in the process of executing the research, it is one way to apply and observe literally, logically, the steps in the process of conducting research. What are these things? I called it facets. The facets means field of specialization as a sources of problem. Academic and or professional encounter like what we are doing. We commonly attend conferences. We commonly attend training development. We commonly attend lecture. We commonly attend conferences, etc. And that is one way to consider that those activities are your academic or professional encounter. The one that you share to other people is an encounter of sharing and accepting knowledge from other people in the field. Also, of course, collateral readings, meaning of what you have read. And take note, when you are reading, you have to have some sort of diary or information in where you have developed or you have derived, you have read the information to be able to know and easily locate and to be able to easily extract information or retrieve the information of what you have read. Collateral readings means it is a way of of continuously conducting the reading process of what you have learned or intensive reading on the information coming from the written documents or online documents, etc. Existing practice, and it is also one way source of one sources of problem is the existing practice. Let's say for example the culture, let's say for example the policy, the vision, the mission, wherein you can extract information from those aspects, the problem encountered, the mistakes, the incidents, the accidents, and even the way you treat people under the human resource and human behavior. And those are rich informations of a source of problem. Also, of course, let's say the policy of an institution, etc. The next one is tabulate published and unpublished research reports to be able to at least go on with the process as part of the collateral readings, and also of course your way of extracting information from the other researchers, other research outputs or research publication. It is one way to be able to at least easily identify where you have got, where you have developed, where you have crafted, where you have deduced the idea. So getting the information from other research is a way to be able to delineate some practices or even the problem per se. And also, of course, speculative events. What will happen if these are the results? If these are the practices, speculative meaning it is already there, expecting to arrive, expecting to encounter, expecting to experience. So speculative means from the research documents, from the written documents, from the history, etc. So those are possible sources of problems. Is knowing that research as a cycle, meaning it starts with a problem and ends with a problem. Especially if you have your research 20 years from now, 10 years from now, basically you will be encountering problems once that you have already established those kind of solution. So at present time, like for example, the one that we have encountered and the one that we are experiencing, global warming, climate change, those are the usual thing, which is basically politically driven idea of those people who have generated a lot of information and a lot of budget from the different government agencies, etc. But there is also a reality behind that concept. It is because we are fond of hating plastic packaging. But in the 1970s, that is also one among the problems that most of the nations across the world have encountered. We are utilizing the biodegradable materials such as paper products as packaging, and they have encountered that losing of trays, resulting to flash flood, heavy rains, etc. That is why they have developed, one among the research output, they have developed plastic packaging. So after 40 years, here comes another problem. The mismanagement of waste, the solid waste to be more specific. That is why a lot of organizations are into cleaning the ocean, cleaning the river, cleaning the water, because that is also a contributions of what they have discovered during those years of establishing a plastic product as a packaging. Nowadays, we are banning the utilizations of those plastic to be able to at least save the earth from possible carbon footprints brought about by plastic packaging. But the question there is, it is just a matter of utilizing or implementing the appropriate policy or laws pertaining to the management of solid waste. Because there's a lot of people who just simply throw their package everywhere. So that is why that is also a problem. And that is in relation to speculative events, of which what will happen for a certain period of time will definitely be a source of problem. And you could possibly use the published or unpublished research reports of which the solution have already established. And from then on, after several years, you will be encountering another set of problems in relation to the output that we have published. So the criteria in the selection of problems, I called it POP. The POP means problem characterization, observed research characteristics, and the process feasibility. So first, criteria in the selection problem characteristics, novelty and originality. Exactly. It is one way of yung applicability or usability of a particular research output. It also, of course, of its origin, meaning the genuineness of the informations that you have utilized, that you have arrived at. Theoretical value. Will it add value to the existing body of knowledge? Another one is practical value, the usability and availability. Also, of course, the workability, the access to data, manageable, and the critical mass, the magnitude and scope. It could either be within a certain society or across the world. It's up to the focus of attention. The next one is the researcher's characteristics, a special qualification. Take note that researchers are not just normal, they are very special, wherein they could utilize their own craft, their own intelligence. Let's say, for example, an engineer. Yes, they could possibly conduct management, conduct education, conduct economics, but they should be focusing on the economics of engineering, the education of engineering, and the management of engineering. So take note of the qualification because it is one way to be able to extract information directly from their expertise. The interest of the researcher, the focus, and also, of course, a process feasibility. Time requirement is very essential. Yes, especially if it is immediate when it comes to the application of the research output. Also of course, appropriateness of the result once you have done it within the specified time frame or period of time. Also, of course, the cost. It is feasible if there is an appropriate cost. Appropriate cost means all the expenses should be covered. Remember that you will be spending time, effort, and other resources. You should be considering the cost. Remember, before you came up with the results, you have established the expenses occurred during the process, the pre, during, and the post. during the preparation, the preparations of the process of conducting research, during the conduct of research, and the post, meaning for publication per se. Also, of course, the risk and hazards. Some of the researchers are facing a lot of or endangering their health, even their wealth, even their life, just to conduct a research for the benefits of the many. Look at what had happened just a month ago when an India have already sent a certain number of people going to the south part of the moon. It is very risky on the part of those people who have rode on a specific jet, the jet plane, or the bus going to the moon, and it takes time. Take note. It is not only the resources. It is not only the information, but it is also, of course, the risk that they are facing. So we have to consider all those things, especially to those who are conducting experiment, especially when it comes to chemical, when it comes to energy, when it comes to power. It is those are very risky. So that is why we have to consider the process feasibility and also, of course, availability of facilities. If it is not possible to do a research, to do an experiment, you have to seek approval from a certain agency, or you have to look for some institution that will provide for free most of the time, that we are looking to minimize the cost. But most of the time, because they have established that kind of facilities for not for free, but for a certain fee for the maintenance of their facilities. The characteristics of a good problem statement: general or major problems stated briefly and clearly. Some problems likewise briefly and clearly stated, order and sequence, showing relative importance in support of the major problem. In most cases, not answerable by yes or no. Questions fine-tuned to enhance the direction of the study. Exactly. It is depends on the number of variables or the variables that you have established that will definitely be focusing on that concept. Another one is the integration of related literature, importance of the review, which is one way to be able to fill in the gaps between what has been established and what is at the back of your mind or your idea or concept. Requirements of good literature is very essential. It is because it is to verify, validate, or invalidate the present information. Sources of literature search for us to be safe from plagiarism, and also, of course, for other people to know that the information are basically derived from those references. Formulations of the theoretical concept of framework, theory explanation, the concept design, model adoption, or sometimes you have to remodel or create your own model, the one that I am usually developed, and representation, which is the schematic diagram of which identify the process of getting the information based on the identified variables or the concern of a research in relation to the problem. So selecting the research method. The three methods most relevant to current research needs are the following. First and foremost, descriptive method. Yes, we have identified, we have discussed, and we have learned a lot of information gearing towards the kind of or the type of research which are subdivided into the two major aspects or method or general methodology, the qualitative and the quantitative. But there are some other um, types or kinds of research based on the quantitative and the qualitative general concept. But here, these are the commonly used. Most of the time, descriptive method in relation to the present scenario called phenomenological research or triangulation research. Also, of course, ethnographic research, which is very important to be able to identify the culture, the way people behave, the way people act, etc. And most common is experimental research. But the misconceptions of the people when they have heard the experimental method, it has something to do with science. But take note, it could either be, it is also applicable in all disciplines like education. There is a science in education, and there is also an art in education. We have also in business. There are there are sciences in business, and there are also art in business. That is exactly the same thing when it comes to arts and sciences or sciences, medicine, engineering, mathematics, music, etc. So experimental method are applicable to all. It could be sometimes the use of ideas and experimental. If it is a new concept that you could possibly apply in your organization, and that exactly what we call by experiment. So applying a certain concept to a new perspective, to a new dimension, to a new operation, etc. The sampling technique, the non-probability sampling, less representative like convenience, quota, and also, of course, probability sampling, random selections of the study units by chance, which are simple random sampling, systematic sampling with random start, stratified sampling, and the cluster sampling. Also, of course, the multi-stage sampling, which is the combinations of the different methods in identifying the sampling process. The instrumentation selection, such as questionnaire, the interview, the documentary analysis, and the observation. Also, of course, the experimentation. But participants' observation is also very essential, especially if it is more on qualitative research. So quantitative and qualitative data analysis, inferential data analysis, computer data analysis such as SPSS, the MLS, etc. The narrative description when it comes to qualitative, etc. And the writing the manuscript, basically following the IMRAD form. But the IMRADs are observing the following items, such as the abstract. Abstract is a brief statement about the main purpose of the study, period of the study, the population respondents, method of research use, a research instrument, and the sampling design are very important and essential in coming up with the abstract. Also, of course, it is a presentation of the problem, existence of unsatisfactory condition, rationality of the study, and the study locale or the time frame. It is because sometimes the appropriateness of the informations is required. For the introduction, possible solutions to existing problems, beneficiaries and how they are to be benefited, possible contribution to fund of knowledge, and also, of course, possible implications. And that is an introduction, meanings the gist of everything, or the opening, the entrance of the information to a more intense information. The review of related literature, concepts and theories, paradigms, simulacrum, or schematic diagram are acceptable, or the statement of the problem, also, of course, part of the objectives. And also, of course, the research methodology that we need to observe are the logical process and sequencing of presentations of information, research design, subjects, instrumentation, statistics if applicable, if you are conducting quantitative research. Also, of course, data gathering procedure, it could either be descriptive or itemized or bullet type. And also, of course, data analysis. And for the result and discussion, the three ways of presenting data, tabular, textual, graphical, it's up to the researcher on how they can easily present or describe a certain data information for the research manuscript. Also, of course, analysis, interpretation, or implication. Also, of course, the findings, conclusions, and recommendations. And four, the result and discussion, the elements of analysis, interpretations, or implication, statement of conditions or situation. the probable cause of condition, the probable effect, the veil suggestion for continuance, or remedial measures if possible effects are bad. And also, of course, if it is good, the continuance of the practice. Also, of course, a statement of findings lumped up to altogether following each specific question to be able to at least identify the linearity of the informations that you have arrived at to a certain problems that you have identified beforehand. Only important data and highlights of the answers to questions are included to be able to give way for adult people to at least focus on the informations that you have already established. And also, of course, for conclusions, it is a generalization based on findings. It is not the findings that you commonly see from the manuscript of the academic thesis or dissertation or research format. No, it is the gist of every results or the total results, not to contain numerals, answering the properly specific questions. That is why the presentation should be statement of the problem and the findings, also, of course, conclusion. And for the formulated concisely pointing out facts learned from the inquiry, not repetitions of any statement anywhere in the thesis. Exactly. The one that I have made mention sometimes that you will be encountering a conclusion, which is the duplication of the research findings. And for the recommendation, should solve the problem discovered in the investigation. Also, of course, be for the continuance of good practice or system. So recommendation also aim for the ideal but be feasible, practical, and attainable aspect or concept. We address the persons, entities, agencies that are in a position or to implement them. Exactly. That is why we have to seek approval from those who are in the authority. Let's say, for example, city government, local government, or even the national government. And to those people who are in the organization of which the research is focused to tackle on the problems that they have encountered should be with approval of the immediate superior, manager, supervisor, manager, vice president, or the executive body and the board. Remember the ethical way of conducting research. So the ethics should be included as part of it. Include the recommendation for further research related to the topic. Exactly. Because not all researchers covered every variable or all variables of which the focus of attention have is already established. Sometimes you will be delimiting your focus because of the time frame, because of the cost, because of the capacity and capability of the researchers. And the last one is evaluation process. I will not delineate my presentation on the self preparation because my time is already near to lapse. So for the preparation evaluation process, I considered is check. Evaluation means you are supposed to scrutinize all the information, the data, and also, of course, the documents per se. Check means the evaluation process means check. Choose the best publication journal to which your title fits with the theme of the journal publication. Harmonize the ideas derived from other sources and references. Evict information that will create vagueness of the information or focus. Exactly. That is why we have to be assertive of the data in informations that we have encountered, that we have read, that we have heard from other people, from direct from the respondents or direct from the person you have identified as part of your participants. Next one is clarify the objectives of the publication journal with your interest. To be able to what? Unify, harmonizing the things. And lastly, nerd the best ideas that will definitely add value to the body of knowledge. And that exactly what we are trying to do, to open the eyes and the minds of the people of a new knowledge pertaining to a certain concept or aspect or to a certain information. And for that, I would say thank you very much for inviting me here again to talk about the pre-process publication. And have a good day. Namaste, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a wonderful and iconic presentation by our Professor Catalina and Mendoza. I would like to request each and everyone to give a big hand for Sir's presentation, especially in the context of the drafting. Sir has elaborated the soul of a manuscript. And of course, as our manuscript, whenever we are going for a publication, it reflects our personality. It reflects the researcher's thought process, which is very, very important. And Sir has highlighted with his own CNN model, of course, from 2015 and 2021. So Sir has done a massive advantage to our scholars, and especially those who are present here in our advanced faculty development program. Thank you, Sir. That was a magnificent presentation. I would like to hear now unmute our director, Professor Dr. Rajesh Kannur, sir, for one comment.
Good evening for an unmuting me. Okay, thank you for an unmuting. Okay, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, sir. Namaskar, sir, for your excellent and very, very exceptional session today. Sir has done on manuscript drafting. Sir has started. Okay, of course, it wasn't very comprehensive, and Sir has practically has told that on how to go for an research process. Okay, how to write it, but here Sir has highlighted one of the things like a novelty and originality. Okay, it matters a lot. Okay, very, very important, very ideal, iconic things Sir has highlighted. It gives you practical things on how to choose the topic, then how to move it, because choosing the topic is more important than doing other things, because everything depends upon how whatever topic you choose, how you define it. That matters a lot. Okay, that also in a quantitative or in qualitative or in primary or secondary or in mixed methods, how you define it. That is an Sir has highlighted in a with a very, very different models and his Sir's own models. Okay, often research one. Thank you, sir. We are very grateful to you. Thank you.